Good evening, Ozzy.
What?
Good evening, Ozzy.
Hello there.
Rock and roll gave musicians a microphone, and television gave journalists a chair. But some legends refused to stay in their lane. When talk show hosts underestimated the most volatile personalities in hard rock and metal, they paid for it. These are 10 moments they never forgot. Number 10, the Sex Pistols. Queen were originally booked for the Today Show on December 1st, 1976, but canceled at the last minute due to vocalist Freddie Mercury needing emergency dental surgery. As host of Today, a regional magazine program on Thames Television, Bill Grundy gained national attention for an interview with the Sex Pistols, during which the band swore and traded insults with him on live television. Grundy introduced the Sex Pistols and their entourage, which included members of the Bromley contingent, Susie Sue, Stephen Severin, Simon Barker, and Simone Thomas. When Susie told Grundy she had always wanted to meet him, and he replied, "We'll meet afterwards, shall we?" Guitarist. Steve Jones called Grundy a dirty sod, a dirty old man, a dirty bastard, a dirty fucker, and a fucking rotter.
Wonderful people.
Are they?
Oh yes, they really turn us on.
What do they do?
The 12-line telephone system automatically diverted unanswered calls to the green room, where a producer had left the Pistols and their entourage alone with the ringing phones. The group started answering and dishing out even more abuse. Thames Television blamed Grundy for antagonizing the band and coaxing the obscenities on air. He was suspended for 2 weeks as program director Jeremy Isaacs said Grundy made a gross error in judgment. The Today Show was soon canceled, and Grundy never hosted another primetime program. The incident ended his career as a prominent journalist. In 2008, a survey named the Grundy interview the most requested clip in UK television history.
I'm saying nothing else about him. We'll be back tomorrow. I'll be seeing you soon. I hope I'm not seeing you again. From me, though, good night.
Number 9, Slipknot. Slipknot were honored with a Grammy in the Best Metal Performance category in the pre-telecast ceremony at the 48th Annual Grammy Awards, held at the Staples Center in Los Angeles on February 8, 2006. The Iowa-based band, nominated for the 6th consecutive year, won for their single Before I Forget. In typical Slipknot fashion, most of the band could not have cared less. Before entering to claim their prize, the band had to endure the red carpet, and a Tonight Show correspondent wasted no time asking the most condescending questions he could find, including who would win in a fight between Clown and Ronald McDonald. The room's patience had already run thin.
Metal song about me, what would it be called?
Jackass.
What's that?
Jackass.
When the reporter then asked what a heavy metal song about him would be called, Clown delivered his answer with a single deadpan word: jackass. No elaboration, no eye contact, just the word, hanging in the air like a verdict. When Metal Hammer interviewed Clown later in 2006, he revealed a complicated relationship with his Grammy. It held pride of place atop his piano, yet he stated, "On the one hand, it doesn't mean shit, and on the other, it means we're in the club now." Slipknot appeared in full costume, too. Accept their Best Metal Performance Grammy at the 48th Grammy Awards, and band co-founder Sean Crahan dedicated the honor to his father, who had passed away just weeks prior.
Jackass would be my song. Let me hear a couple lyrics.
You're a jackass.
Number 8, Ginger Baker. The documentary Beware of Mr. Baker premiered at the 2012 South by Southwest Film Festival and won the Grand Jury Prize for Best Documentary. Director Jay Bulger had lived with Baker in South Africa while writing a Rolling Stone feature, and the hours of captured footage became the foundation of the film. The result was one of the most disarming opening sequences in documentary history. When Bulger pressed Baker about allowing friends and colleagues to be interviewed, Baker thrust his metal cane directly into the filmmaker's face, breaking his nose on camera and sending blood across the opening scene. Baker's response afterward, he reportedly wished it had been caught on camera sooner.
On my film.
Are you really gonna hit me with the fucking...
The film's title was taken from a warning sign posted outside Baker's South African compound, a directee, signal of what lay ahead. Neil Peart, Stuart Copeland, Nick Mason, and Lars Ulrich were among the fellow drummers who contributed interviews, lending their credentials to the portrait of a man whose genius was matched only by his volatility. The documentary stands as one of the most visceral examples in rock history of a legend not just dismissing an interviewer, but physically overwhelming one before the cameras had even stopped rolling. It is not a metaphor when they say Ginger Baker destroyed his interviewer.
I fucking well am. I'm gonna fucking put you in hospital.
What?
Number 7. John Lydon. Four years after the Sex Pistols destroyed Bill Grundy's career from the other side of the camera, John Lydon walked onto Tom Snyder's Tomorrow Show on June 27, 1980 as the frontman of Public Image Ltd., a band built on dismantling every convention punk had created. Lydon arrived disheveled, disinterested, and completely impenetrable. When Snyder tried to establish what kind of band Public Image Limited actually was, Lydon refused to give him a usable answer, stating flatly that they were not a band at all but a company, adding it had nothing to do with rock and roll.
Too much like a structure, a church,
yeah, but there was
a religion, a farce.
A time when you did not
Throughout the interview, Lydon stonewalled every line of questioning, treating Snyder's curiosity as an imposition not worth addressing. Snyder, a veteran broadcaster accustomed to controlling the room, never regained his footing. Guitarist Keith Levine was equally uncooperative, and the entire appearance amounted to a masterclass in hostile non-participation. Where the Grundy incident was explosive and chaotic, Lydon's Tomorrow appearance was cold and surgical. He gave Snyder nothing, and he did it with the quiet confidence of someone who had already burned television to the ground once before and had no interest in repeating the performance.
That one? Yes, even then. Because the Sex Pistols was going to be the absolute end of rock and roll.
Number 6. Dave Mustaine. 5 studio albums in 7 years. Megadeth's Countdown to Extinction landed at number 2 on the Billboard 200 in 1992 and sold over 2 million copies in the United States alone, cementing Mustaine as one of the most technically ferocious composers in thrash metal. He spent those same years making interview rooms feel dangerous, from confrontations about his firing from Metallica in April of 1983 to feuds with bandmates, labels, journalists, and critics. Mustaine turned virtually every media appearance into a battleground. He never arrived unprepared, and he never backed down from provocation.
James kicked the dog, so I punched him in the face, and that was the end of it, you know? And the bass player said, you know, it was a big
What separated Mustaine from other volatile rock figures was the precision. He did not simply explode. He argued, he cited specifics, he kept score, and he made every interviewer feel the full weight of the questions they had dared to ask. His extensive history of feuds and rivalries even earned its own dedicated Wikipedia page, a measure of just how deep and wide that confrontational legacy ran. Bands like Pantera and Anthrax watched him navigate decades of industry warfare without ever going quiet. The interviews were always an extension of the music, and both ran on the same raw, relentless, unresolved fury.
Nothing. Then I had everything. Then I had nothing again. And it was okay going from nothing.
Number 5. Marilyn Manson. Organizations like the American Family Association and groups including Empower America, along with dozens of local governments, tried to shut him down throughout the 1990s. None of them succeeded. What they did instead was send him to every major television interview platform in America with a target on his back, and he turned every single one of those appearances into a clinic in psychological control. Reporters arrived with questions about Satanism, self-mutilation, and the supposed corruption of youth. He arrived with a sharper intellect than any of his interrogators and the patience to dismantle every premise they brought to the table.
I think sometimes when you're making a point, I don't think that my lyrics are overlaced with profanity because I'm
His most celebrated media confrontations came during the campaign surrounding Antichrist Superstar in 1996 and Mechanical Animals in 1998, when networks and local news programs repeatedly framed him as a danger to American society. In each case, he calmly inverted the argument, turning accusations about his influence on children into observations about media manipulation, cultural hypocrisy, and the fear of outsider identity. Journalists who arrived aggressive left looking outmaneuvered. He never raised his voice. He never lost composure. The quiet, methodical way he dismantled people who expected a spectacle made him arguably the most formidable interview opponent rock has ever produced.
People get a sexual thrill from it. I think that excites people.
So there's erotica then is a...
The legends on this list were not just musicians. They were forces of nature who refused to be managed, edited, or contained. Which of these moments hit hardest for you? Drop a comment below and let us know where in the world you are watching from. Number 4. Chris Holmes. One of the most iconic, infamous, and genuinely uncomfortable scenes in rock documentary history is the pool interview with former Wasp guitarist Chris Holmes in Penelope Spheeris's 1988 film, The Decline of Western Civilization. Part 2, The Metal Years. Holmes sat on an inflatable float in the pool, fully clothed and visibly intoxicated, while his mother watched from poolside. During the interview, Holmes smiled blankly at the camera, called himself a full-blown alcoholic, guzzled from multiple bottles of vodka, and then upended a full bottle over his own head before rolling off his inflatable chair into the water.
Excuse me. Being who I am is like...
Director Spheeris later described her reaction in the immediate aftermath, saying she was so stunned she felt she had gotten nothing at all and worried the scene would need to be reshot entirely. Later accounts, and the documentary's own supplemental materials note that the degree of staging in certain scenes, including Holmes's pool interview, has been disputed. What no one disputes is the impact. The scene defines an era of excess in heavy metal more honestly than any staged performance ever could, capturing something raw, unscripted, and impossible to look away from. It remains one of the most requested and revisited moments in the entire history of rock documentaries.
Do you wish that you were a bigger star than you are right now?
Number 3, Axl Rose. Before Guns N' Roses released Appetite for Destruction in 1987, they were 5 kids sleeping on rehearsal room floors in Hollywood. That album went on to sell over 30 million copies worldwide. By the early 1990s, tracking down Axl Rose for a media appearance had become an industry event in itself. Journalists, television hosts, and network producers spent years trying to get him into a chair, knowing that when it finally happened, almost anything could follow. He dictated every term of engagement, arrived on his own schedule, and made it clear from the first moment that no question was guaranteed an answer.
Yeah, it was, my manager, I guess, set stuff up, but he didn't even tell me. I went to get in the shower and I go...
Eddie Trunk documented the behind-the-scenes chaos surrounding Axl's rare 2011 appearance on VH1 Classics That Metal Show, describing how the entire production was on full alert for hours before Axl arrived, and how the room shifted entirely the moment he walked in. Across his career, Axl walked out of interviews, disputed published quotes, challenged journalists publicly, and left stages mid-performance when conditions did not meet his expectations. The result was a legacy where the interviews themselves became cultural events, as anticipated and unpredictable as the music. No journalist who ever sat across from Axl Rose forgot the experience.
Awesome! I didn't even know I was doing an interview till right before I did it.
Number 2, Lemmy Kilmister. 40 years of cigarettes, Jack Daniels, and stage volume will do something to a man's perspective. What it did to Lemmy was sharpen it to a point that made every journalist who walked through the door an unwitting straight man in a conversation they had no chance of winning. From Motorhead's debut album in 1977 through to his final years, Lemmy sat for thousands of interviews and dominated every single one, not through aggression but through the sheer gravitational force of a personality that had no interest in performing for anyone. Reporters who arrived expecting the icon left, having been quietly dismantled by one of the most precise minds in rock.
Actually, I didn't say that. I said that it made me a better person for having taken it.
Yeah.
Where other legends shouted or stormed off, Lemmy simply waited. He let the interviewer finish their question, took a sip of his drink, and delivered an answer so exact and so unimpressed that the reporter had nowhere to go. Motorhead received multiple Grammy nominations for Best Metal Performance across their career, and Ace of Spades remains one of the most recognizable bass riffs ever committed to tape. But the interview footage stands alongside the records as part of the lasting legacy. Metallica, Slash, and Anthrax have all cited Lemmy as a defining influence on their careers. Every single one of them knew better than to ask him a stupid question.
Throw the girls out the bed.
Wake up with a hangover.
Scrape the crust off the jeans. Stagger out the bus, have a shower and come.
Number 1, Ozzy Osbourne. Paranoid, Iron Man, War Pigs. 3 songs from Black Sabbath's 1970 album Paranoid that permanently redefined the ceiling of what heavy music could be. By the time Ozzy launched his solo career with Blizzard of Oz in 1980, he had already helped invent an entire genre. What followed was 4 decades of television, appearances in which journalists armed themselves with bat-biting headlines, dove incidents, and tabloid mythology, expecting to find a man who had completely lost the plot. What they found instead was someone who had survived everything the industry could throw at him, and emerged with a story no interviewer could contain or diminish.
Ozzy Osbourne. Good evening, Ozzy.
What?
Good evening, Ozzy.
Hello there.
In a 1982 Night Flight interview, the host wasted no time, asking Ozzy directly about the rumors surrounding him. Rather than deflect or perform outrage, Ozzy responded with quiet, disarming honesty, drawing a clear line between his stage persona and the person sitting in the chair. It gave the interviewer nothing to push against. That same quality defined every major interview Ozzy gave across his career. He was too honest to be cornered, too self-aware to be baited, and too genuinely compelling to be dismissed.
Before we came on the air, I'm a split personality. Ozzy Osbourne and John Osbourne is 2 different people. John Osbourne is...
Inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2006 alongside his Black Sabbath bandmates Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward, Ozzy left behind a legacy that no amount of tabloid television ever managed to scratch.